this is Tommy Buckley from Crowbar and Soil and Green, and you're listening to Vulgar Display of Podcast. Wow.
Would you throw a rope to a drowning man in a darkened haze? You can't understand. I gasp for air, I choke on blood. A hopeless man drowning in a flood, gathering what you can, learning to live again.
Welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcast. Got Mike in the studio with me. Mike, how's it going?
What up?
We are lucky to have this guy online right now. He's currently on tour, probably somewhere in West Virginia or somewhere east. We have Tommy Buckley, Crowbar, and Soylent Green. Tommy, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hell yeah, man. How y'all doing, Chad and Mike?
Oh, man, I'm such a fanboy right now.
Yeah, it's a big deal for us. We are fans. I mean, obviously, if you're a metal fan, Crowbar is very top on a lot of people's list. I know you guys are out on tour right now. How's the tour going so far?
It's going well, man. It's going well. You know, we do pretty good for a 30-something-year-old band, I guess. You know, we draw, you know, you get a hit and miss show sometimes during weeknights. You play, you know, in the middle of nowhere, dude, Wednesday or Tuesday or, you know, somewhere up in the middle of the week, and, you know, it's hit or miss sometimes, but, you know, the shows have been fairly good, though.
You know, I'd say you have a new album out, but it's actually been out since March, Zero and Below. How's the reception been for the album?
It's actually been really well, you know. We've been getting some good feedback from it. You know, I saw a couple reviews and things in magazines, and, you know, there's a few write-ups and stuff usually we get around the release of the record. And they seem to be pretty good, you know. I mean, we're all pretty happy with the record, you know, the way it came out.
Absolutely, and we've been spinning it since it came out. And like I said, we are fans, also fans of Soylent Green. Any updates with Soylent Green? I know haven't been too active lately, but do you guys have any updates on that?
You know, we talk here and there, man. Brian's got like actually 3 children now, he and his wife. So, you know, he's been dad for a while, and, you know, I know he's out of I Hate God, and, you know, Ben's still doing the Goat Whore thing. So, you know, I mean, I think maybe there is hope. Who knows? We could probably get this thing back together, but, you know, it's got to happen soon. I mean, dude, we're all getting older. It's obviously will be much harder for me to play when I'm 60 years old, but I'm not that old yet. Yeah. But in 8 years, I will be. Yeah. So, you know, dude, I figured we could just get this. If we're going to get it going, it'll have to happen soon. But, you know, I've been trying to reach out to the guys. Brian texts me every now and then. So who knows, man? You know, I think it's possible. And got the reel-to-reels for some of my secrets, dude. I really like to do some like remastering and stuff, baking, and maybe possibly some bonus tracks or re-release or something. Who knows?
Man, that'd be awesome. We'd love to hear some of that. We were talking before we got you online about how drummers love to talk about playing drums like a vegan loves to talk about being vegan. You know,
it's funny when we're on tour with Soylent Green back in the day. Brian used to always like crack some like smart ass jokes. He'd be like, "I don't know what the hell's wrong with all you drummers." He's like, "You're like a secret society."
Like CrossFitters or something.
Yeah. It's so funny. You know, we were watching some of your playthroughs, and we noticed that you like to play with your toms kind of tilted towards you, like, and you hit out instead of down. Have you always done that, or is that?
Yeah, since I was a kid, man, you know, you always do some crazy things, and you know, like taking pieces of towels and cutting them out and putting them on top of your heads with duct tape and you know, dude, and so forth. Yeah, you know, I give you the idea. You do crazy things and the crazy ways to set up. And just for me, being that I was so short, you know, I'm kind of a low rider, and I sit with my throne all the way down. Mm-hmm. So my throne is like, if it's extended up, it's not even an inch. But, you know, I'll keep it pretty much all the way down. And I like my legs being flat when I play, my thighs. I don't like them going down. I don't like sitting up high. I don't like them going down at an angle. And I don't like sitting with my knees up higher than my waist. because when I start doing that, my back starts hurting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I can't. It's like, dude, it's like that when I go to anybody's house or whatever. Somebody's got a big giant, ogre couch. You sit in that thing, and like when my rear sinks lower than my knees, dude, it's a problem. My back starts hurting. So usually, for me, that's why everything's on an angle, because I sit so low, and I like my legs being flat. Being that I'm such a short person.
So it's like an efficiency thing.
I see a lot of drummers sit with that drum thrones like really high up in the air, and they play down on their kit. They like everything flat. They like the toms even low down by the top of the kick drum. And I play like that every now and then when I set up I got 2 Ludwig kits. I got actually 2 Bonham kits. I got a orange Vista Light, and I got a green Sparkle kit of the 4 Bonham kits. And when I set those kits up, the rack toms on both of those kits are on snare stands. Well, excuse me, actually on the Vista Light, it's on a snare stand. So it's a little weird, a little different. It's kind of forces you to play out of your element. But the green Sparkle kits actually got a top post. So I preferably like to play with a top post. Old school, like Dave Grohl and Dave from the Melvins, dude, drummers like that. A lot of those guys play, with the toms on the top of the kick drum mounted.
Yeah.
So basically, when you're playing with deep toms, I like big toms. So when you're playing with a deep tom, rack tom, or toms, look at Vinnie Paul back in the day, dude. His toms almost sideways.
Yeah.
They were literally almost sideways, and but it's just weird. Everybody kind of trips out on like the snare thing with me, and I trip out on it myself because it's just the way, like I said, you do crazy things when you're a young player. So you kind of play yourself into a rut, so to speak. You just get used to these crazy ways of playing, and it's like, it's not normal, but it works for me. That's for sure.
Hey, necessity is the mother of invention, and when you're that young,
when I come. Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. When I come down, like usually on the snare hits, on the snare cracks, I'm bending my wrist. My wrist usually bends with the angle of the snare, so I kind of like. But I'm still catching some rim shots, even though sometimes I try not to. It's just when you're playing live, dude, it's inevitable.
You mentioned your big ass toms. What size are we playing with now? Because those things are like.
It's so funny. I've been asked this in another podcast. I couldn't even remember. It's a 14-inch diameter, but I think it's like. I don't think it's a 14 by 14. I think it might be like a 14, like a 12 by 14. I think it's like 12 inches deep, but because 14 by 14 is pretty deep. But it's huge, man. I used to play on a Yamaha kit back in the day on all the old Soylent Green records, and there was 4 rack toms, and by the time you got to the 4th rack tom, dude, it was huge. Even though they were concert toms, they were big sizes. They were 12, 13, 14, and 15. So when I got into Crowbar, I was using that kit, man. I was using a 15-inch rack tom up there, and it was just as deep as that Sonar rack tom that I'm playing on now, dude. The things are huge, But it's just, it's just the way I like to play for Crowbar. It's just, it's a heavier sound with Kirk's, chuggy, kind of chunky, heavy guitar tone and shit, So basically, that's why I like, bigger toms and detune them down to, almost nothing.
Amazing. So how hard is it to keep your timing in check in a band like Crowbar? Because, I play a little bit of drums. I'm a bass player, but when I drum, it's like the tendency to be human, is to push forward when it gets exciting. And how do you have the discipline to like hold back,
especially live,
like lay back live?
Yeah.
Right. I catch myself sometimes, man. I caught myself last night, to be honest with you. Sometimes, you can't even really like let your mind stray, because if you start thinking about like the guy you was talking to or something, like, because I just met a guy that was related to a family that close to my mom and dad live, and it was like, wow, what a small world,
Yeah.
So I get on stage and I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking while I'm playing the first song, how cool is that? And I almost screwed up. I was like, tempo was going. I'm like, man, you gotta watch it. You can't even like really. You just gotta like really focus and just try to like sometimes not focus so much, but just let it be natural. But just let it pour out of you.
I don't
sweat
think
come out your pores.
I don't think I could do it, because I think I would get hypnotized by the sound, and I would just like get lost in it, and then my tempo would be fucked.
No, I mean, sometimes I think about it. It's like I try not to. I'm just kind of lost in drum world. I really don't look out too much into the crowd. I mean, I do in between songs, and but I try to not pay too much attention to anything else around me. I try to focus on what's going on behind the kit and all, all the drums and the cymbals that I'm hitting on. But like if you just, man, sometimes your mind, you just stray, dude. You think about one little thing or something like, and it'll just totally screw you up sometimes. But you got to be careful. But so I try to like, sometimes it's not so much of a conscious thing. But if I feel like if it's swaying a little bit or it's drifting, I'll start focusing on it more because sometimes like I said, you just get nervous, man. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I've done cut off 16 bars of the end of Planets Collide, dude. 16 measures, and like I looked at the end of the song, when Kirk's supposed to do Watch the Planets Collide, and I cut off the whole thing, and I look at Matt, and I'm like, dude, did I just screw up? And Matt's like, yep. And I'm like, oh, I was like shrunk like the incredible shrinking drummer on the drum throne to like 1 inch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was like, oh God, how embarrassing. But it happens, it happens sometimes.
And Crowbar is such a feel band anyway. I'm guessing that you guys don't play to a special, in a live setting to a click track or anything like that.
No, man, we had a lot of these engineers just kind of trip out on us because we're so old school. It's just ridiculous. We come in, no samples, no effects, no nothing, dude. Kirk, they got the minimum amount of pedals, tuning pedals and whatever pedals they got. And, just amps and heads and,
let's roll.
We roll in old school style, man, heavy metal rock and roll style.
So
and,
I love that.
The guy last night, I've been getting so many compliments on my sonar, and the kit's so old now, dude. It's like I got it in 2006, so it's pretty old, So the guy just like, man, he goes, dude, that drum kit sounds amazing. He goes, if everybody's drum kit sounded like that. And it's like, I feel some nights it don't sound that great, It's like you got to tweak the toms, and you get a little pingy and pongy kind of sounding.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm glad that he liked it. But I've been getting compliments, man, for the last 2 nights by the engineers on how good everything on that kit's been sounding. So, I'm grateful, man, for it being that old. But I keep it in the cases when we're not touring. So it's like a garage kept car, so that's a good thing.
Do you feel like a good sound or a good tone on your instrument inspires new ideas?
Oh, absolutely. Geez, dude, when I first got that sonar kit for like the whole Soylent Green setup, it's a 8, 10, 12, 14 with a 16-inch floor tom. And man, I can't even tell you, like just taking your stick and giving your toms one smack all the way across. And dude, it was so like satisfying, like gratifying thing. It felt like so good to dig into those heads, and it sounded so amazing, dude. It was just like it was almost like a xylophone, like a perfect pitch drop off. It was just like bing, boom, 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 boom. And I was like, dude, you can't get any more satisfying than that. As a drummer, man, it's like the sounds were almost perfect, the pitches and the tones. And so I got, basically those last 2 tones for Crowbar, I got that boom and boom going on. So it's pretty big, dude. It's the 14 and the 16, and I like it. I like it like that, especially for recording, because I like big drum sounds on the albums.
Yeah, those drum tones on that new record are just phenomenal.
And it's just that sonar kit, man. It's that sonar I've been using for, dude. It was the last Soylent Green album. It was Inevitable Collapse in the Presence of Conviction. And then it was all 4 Crowbar records have been recorded on that kit. So that's basically the recording kit, it's my sound. Wow. And I try to take care of it. And I'm not even endorsed by Sonar anymore. So, man, I really want to get Ludwig now that I'm such a bottom. As I got older, dude, I started leaning more toward the less is more type of thing. And, everybody knows how great Bonham of a rock drummer he was.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like my drum instructor, he thinks that, like, when I say stuff like that's kind of meat-headed, but it is what it is, dude. I mean, he's a jazz fusion type player, and I'm a rock and roll metal drummer. So, I mean, I never, ever, honestly, dude, I go to these clinics and I see some of these drummers, and, dude, they're amazing. You see, like, Thomas Lang, Terry Bozzio. It's like, dude, sell your kit and burn your sticks. It's like you go home and you're like, dude, I never accomplished anything in my life. You're like, it just makes you feel like you never did anything on drums. But, you know, it's just, hey, man, we're all drummers. We're all different style players out there. And, you know, I'm happy where I'm at. You know, I really just like being the drummer that I am, playing the styles of music that I do, you know.
Do you consider yourself more of a feel type player than this super technical, like you're talking about with some of these newer players, and especially some of these newer sounds and instrumental bands? These guys can
definitely,
play.
definitely.
Like...
I mean, I used to be more of a technical player. I mean, obviously with Soylent Green, it was just so much overplaying going on in that band, dude. The whole album just, you know, it's like if you got 10 riffs per song and you got 10 songs per album, you have 100 riffs per album to learn.
Yeah, madness.
You know, it's like the same thing as a gig. If you go out and play 10 songs, I got over 100 riffs live. That's definitely technical, a lot more technical than Crowbar. But I try to keep it interesting and tasteful with Crowbar. And, you know, I really am happy with I kind of did go back on purpose to the less is more style.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially now, dude, I'm getting older. You know, as you're getting older, you got to think about your body and what you're playing live. But, I mean, you know, even on some of the most simplest Crowbar songs, dude, it's so physical. Everything just like, I'm back there bashing it out every night, dude, 110%. I don't hold anything back. You know, I just try to like blood, sweat, and tears, dude, everything, just bash out your heart and soul. You know, and every cymbal smash and crack and drum, you know, hit that you do every night. You know, you try to give it all for everybody and just play a good gig, man. But you know, I realize how, you know, I mean, drummers have a physical gig, man. So being an athlete back there, you know, really is.
You mentioned John Bonham, and he's at the very top of my list. And, you know, he was sort of, you think of, what's the...
When the Levee Breaks?
Yeah, When the Levee Breaks. You know, it's such, I would say, technically a pretty simple thing, but it's just so huge. But with his playing too, there would be flashes of brilliance where it's super technical.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, he was able to, and it sounds like that's what you're talking about, try to find those tasteful ways to put some of that little bit of extra work in.
Yeah, you know, you try to find a little simple way to have some kind of little technical stuff in there and make it tasteful, you know. You know, I actually did, excuse me, When the Levee Breaks on that green sparkle kit, man. I went to a bass player, Shane Wesley, his brother. He works for Studio in the Country, which is a studio in Bogalusa, Louisiana, and Kansas Carry On Wayward Son, which is off of the album Left Overture. The whole album Left Overture was recorded in this studio in Louisiana. And it's so cool. So I was in there with this green sparkle kit, you know. I'm like, here I go, man. I'm playing like When the Levee Breaks on a real Bonham kit in this studio that Kansas recorded Carry On Wayward Son. And I'm like, dude, I was getting goosebumps.
Wow.
I was like, dude, this shit's so legendary. I'm like, I just was pinching myself when I was doing it, you know. And I have some cool pictures and things from the studio, man. Took of me behind the kit, and my girl took, you know, and dude, it was just like surreal, you know. It really was, dude. It was surreal. You know, they got pictures of Marilyn Manson gold platinum records or whatever. There's Zebra's first album from New Orleans with the three faces on the cover. Randy Jackson did some guitar snippets, little outtakes in the studio, some vocals or something I heard there. And, you know, it was like Dirty Dancing soundtrack. It was amazing, dude. So here I am, you know, I'm rolling in this green sparkle kit to do When the Levee Breaks, man. It was just like, it was totally surreal for me.
What an experience. And I'm glad you brought up New Orleans, because what I've noticed is everything that comes out of New Orleans, no matter what kind of music it is, I mean, their folk music has a New Orleans grime to it.
I think definitely, I'm sure the rap world's got that definitely own little spin on it, you know. Like, you know, you had all the different cats come out of there that made it big. And, you know, I mean, the underground metal scene was a little different, you know. I mean, obviously Down, because of Phil being in Down, it's the biggest band, you know, from there. But, you know, I mean, dude, there's a lot of bands. It's just, you know, it was like, some people probably never even, like, Graveyard Rodeo put those two records out, you know. Great, you got a Graveyard Rodeo, you got Acid Bath was 2 records. Exhorter was 2 records. It's kind of weird. It was almost like a 2-record curse for a lot of the bands until Exhorter just put out that 3rd record, which sounds nothing like the other 2 records. But you know, it's you got a lot of good bands. You got, you know, Goat Whore, and dude, the list goes on. You can just keep going on and on about the bands with Soylent Green and Crowbar and you know, and Suplex, and geez, dude, there was so many bands back in the day that came, you know, out of New Orleans, and it's a trip kind of looking back on it, you know, thinking that we're still doing it. And we don't even I don't even know any of the young bands around there. I only learned the bands that like open up for us, like Green Gasoline and a couple of the other guys, like Vermilion Whiskey from Lafayette, Louisiana, because you know, they had opened for the Oddfellows Refs 20th anniversary gig we did in New Orleans, which I did on the Orange Vista Light kit, by the way, too. You know, and they just got me to do a record, man. So y'all keep a lookout for Vermilion Whiskey too. I just played on a Vermilion Whiskey record with those guys.
Vermilion Whiskey, okay. We'll check that
man.
out.
Just did a whole record playing drums for Vermilion Whiskey, dude. They hired me to do the album. So I'm trying to help these guys shopping around. I'm about to turn on E1, which is Monarch Heavy now, our record label. So I talked to one of the guys from the label the other night in New York, and he said he was interested. I told him it's basically, dude, it just sounds like Leonard Skinner on steroids.
Killer.
You know, it's total down, you know, COC,
Southern rock,
what have you,
Southern
whatever.
Yeah,
it's total that, you know, in that vein. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I thought the songs were really solid and really good, and that's why I did it. You know, so yeah, keep a lookout on that, man. Vermilion Whiskey.
Definitely,
we'll check that out as soon as we get off here in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the record's not going to be released till like next year or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's done. You know, they kind of just leaving it sit right now to listen to it to make sure everything sounds right, and then you know, do the mastering. Be out next year, but who knows, man? I'm trying to help those guys get a deal for that album. You know?
Man, that's great. What do you think about these whippersnappers these days? these kids saying, you know, in the studio telling their producers, I want the Crowbar tone. I want our record to sound like Crowbar. How's that feel?
I mean, well, first of all, you have to have big drums. That's the first thing. Right. You have to have big drums. Second of all, you have to hit the big drums hard. Yeah. You have to hit the drums, fellas.
Really
and ladies. All young drummers out there, you must strike the drums. And engineers love it when you hit the drums hard in the studio. They like that.
Okay.
You know, so I just try to keep that in mind, and I'm a hard ass hitter, so you know, I tend to play lighter in the studio because you're concentrating more. You're not focusing on the power and just play. You're focusing on concentrating on your part more, and so it lacks in the power sometimes. So man, it's like I try to be conscious of continuing to bring it like you're playing a live show.
Yeah.
You know, in the studio, but it's hard, man, because you're in a whole different atmosphere. You know? Headphones on. You know how aggravating that gets.
Yeah, it is.
And I play with headphones every night, but I'm just talking about like the cord, the hanging, you know, the cord hanging, and like I usually just drop it through the back of my t-shirt and let it run down my back. That way it's not, you know, flapping everywhere where you're trying to play and your stick's getting caught up in the cord from the headphones.
Yeah, I've seen so many drummers sling the headphones across the room.
Yeah.
Recording a session.
Dude. Yeah. I remember those days. I just, you know, like I literally, like, sometimes Dwayne Semino, who engineers the records, he'll come out and like help me tuck the cord behind my shirt. Sometimes so funny, like a kid getting dressed or something, you know. He'll come help me out like my coach or something, man. It's so funny. But that's my little trick. That's what I do. So, you know, when I'm recording in the studio, that doesn't happen.
So hit hard, kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. Just bring it, you know. Just bring it, dude. You just got to go out there and just, you know, smash that shit, man. You just go out there. I'm old school, man. I play, like, Tommy Lee was basically my idol when I was a teenager, dude. I wanted to be Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. So
hard hitter.
It says right there. And, he, you know, Frankie Banali, dude, Quiet Riot was absolutely in my top freaking, like, 5.
Hell yeah.
Dude, Frankie was amazing, dude. He was a total bottom player. But he was a hard hitter. And, you know, listen to Metal Health, dude, Condition Critical and those Quiet Riot records, dude. I mean, he was a basher. But yeah, I mean, that, you know, you just gotta hit those drums hard, man, and bring those tones out, those sounds out. Dude, it's like a guitarist, you know, like somebody said Eddie Van Halen. They went on tour with Van Halen. I think it was I don't know, Jerry Cantrell or somebody. So they got back behind the guitar and they played it. It sounded like shit. And then when Eddie got on stage and got a guitar, it sounded amazing. It's like, dude, it's in people's hands.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the tone, half of it's the hands of it's the person, the player.
Yeah.
You know, it's the way you strike the drums and you bring the sound out. You just got to hit them, you know?
I always tell people that a true artist can pull a guitar out of a dumpster and make music out of it. Make something.
Yeah, dude, that was definitely like the Eddie Van. Eddie was that type of dude, you know? I mean, but you know, it's like you got to be that type of player. Kirk's totally that type of player, dude. Everything like, because Matt, you know, he tries to get the Kirk tone as much as he can, and it's like, dude, he can never match Kirk's sound.
Right.
It's in
he
the
can
hands.
never get that tone. You know why? Because it's in his fingers, dude.
Yeah.
It's in his hands, dude. That tone is in his hands.
100%.
He just knows how to hold those strings and bend strings, dude. He just, you know, you gotta. That's people don't really understand that, but it's a lot of the tones are in the players, man. You know?
Kirk could plug in anything, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, no matter what. Yeah.
Tell you what, Brian, I was lucky enough to play with two guitarists like that. Brian Patton, Soil and Green, dude. He's got a freaking vicious guitar tone. It's almost like Kirk's, but a little more raunchier, you know, a little more for the grindcore thrashier style. But it was like a similar guitar tone. But yeah, you know, the drums have to be smacked, especially in the studio. You know, that's when you really need to be hitting hard during those recordings. You know, because I mean, let's face it, that shit's embedded in stone forever. Once it's done, you know?
Yeah.
And Crowbar has such a close connection, obviously, with Phil and the guys from Down and Pantera.
Oh, yeah, man. Dude, it's so crazy. We were all tied in together. I mean, me and Phil played in Christ Inversion together in 1996. I did the second album, 13th Century Luciferian Rites. What a name, huh? It's like a sentence. It's like one of Ben Falgo's song titles, album titles.
Right.
But yeah, dude, it was never released, you know, and I don't think it'll ever get released. But it's out there probably on the internet. You can probably find it. You know, I played on that in '96, and then he took Soylent out in '96 and '97. Man, we did some shows with Soylent Green, Clutch, and Pantera on the Great Southern Trendkill Tour in 1996, and we also did some shows on the 101 Proof live album tour, and it was Soylent Green, Cold Chamber, Anthrax, and Pantera.
Wow.
And dude, I got to meet Charlie and, you know, Vinny. I had the two modern drummers. They signed both modern drummers for me, dude. It was amazing. I'm about to get both of them framed, dude, and hang them up under this dime bag poster I got hanging up in my house at home. And you know, so yeah, it was a lot of connection going on, man. I mean, I actually jammed with Dan a couple of times. I don't think too many people know that, but I was doing some rehearsals with those guys recently, man. You know, Jim had a little thing going on, so you know, we wasn't sure what was happening, but thank God he was able to get, you know, his little issue he had going straight. So, but he came back in, but I did like 4 rehearsals with Dan and was asked to do a gig back in like 2012. Like Five Finger Death Punch was requesting Dan for one show, and Biloxi Coast Coliseum in Mississippi. Oh, yeah. And man, Kirk called me up. He's like, "Man, how you feel about playing this one show with Down, dude, in Biloxi? You know, in an arena?" I'm like,
yes.
Like, what is that, a trick question? I'm like, yes, of course. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I learned the whole NOLA album and some of the stuff over Down too. So the rehearsals went well, man. I did it, but you know, it's like I was there for those guys. They need me, they know I'm there. But Jim, you know, he's my boy, dude. I never try to step on Jim's toes. I love Jimmy to death, man. He's a good friend of mine.
Were you as surprised as I was with, you know, the news of the Pantera reunion, how much backlash there was with all that?
I was, but I wasn't. Dude, I had 2 friends reach out to me and ask me if I was doing it. I was like, no, man, I don't think that's going to happen. I was like, I couldn't even do that to Vinny or Dime. But, you know, and I know, dude, Charlie, I'm friends with Charlie. It's like, dude, he's going to catch a lot of heat from that shit. Mm-hmm. They are going to catch a lot of heat. But I don't think Phil really cares or Rex, dude, because they're going to do what they want to do. And, you know, you can't really, you know, I mean, dude, they do have the right to do it. I mean, but it's just not going to be Pantera, dude. It's not the same. It'll be Pantera songs with Phil and Rex. You know, you can put, I always said it would be Zakk Wylde. You know, who knows if it's going to be Zakk Wylde. But Charlie's absolutely doing it. And, you know, it was crazy when I had 2 friends reach out to me that morning when all those posts started going up. They were like, "Hey, what's up, dude? Are you doing it?" And I'm like, no, it's flattering, but I'm like, no. No, I could do that shit with no problem. I mean, dude, me, Kirk, and Dime, man, we had a jam one night at Dime's house, and it was hilarious because we were drinking the Coors keg in the living room, and he's like, I got a key to the studio. If I got it here, if Grady don't have the key, we'll go to the studio. We're like, all right, whatever, Dime. So we just kind of ignored it. Like hours later, he comes rolling in with his key. He's like, look what I got dangling off a key ring. So he's like, come on, y'all. So we go in the back, and he was like mouthing off about this 80-track Mackie mixing board he had, dude. And sure enough, man, it was wall-to-wall mixing board. We were like, wow, man, we were tripping out. So, everybody kind of dwindling off one by one. I got Crowbar and Soylent Green. We were all, staying at the house that night. We were on tour together. So everybody's dwindling off one by one, going back to the house. And, man, it ended up the last 3 people back there in the jam room, which was the studio where they recorded Reinvent the Steel, his backyard. Dude, it was me, Kirk, and Dime. So Dime's got a guitar. He picks up one of his guitars, and, like, Kirk's got a bass, and they jam. And I'm like, dude, this sucks. Dime's like, well, he's like, man, Vinny don't like nobody playing his drums. He's like, man, you can't play on Vinny's drums. So it went from, like, when I said it sucks, he's like, well, what do you mean it sucks? I said, dude, I know all these songs. I said, we could be jamming these songs right now. And Dom's like, all right, I'll tell you what. He's like, go ahead, beat them lightly. So, dude, it was the drum kit that was in Mouth for War video with the bricks.
Oh, wow.
And
it's a
dude,
legendary kit.
It went from don't touch Vinnie Paul's drums, and I said, I understand I'm a drummer, and I respect that. So don't touch Vinnie Paul's drums to, okay, beat him lightly. Like, come on, boy, you hit like a pussy. Woo! He was like, so, dude, me and Kirk, dude, we share that common bond that we had that night with him, man. We played Van Halen, Dance the Night Away. We played Kiss 100,000 Years. We even played Pantera Power Metal.
Wow.
Dude, we were ripping through Judas Priest. We were ripping through whatever. We had the funnest time, dude. And, dude, God bless them, man. It's hard to believe that both of those dudes are gone now.
Yeah. Kind of what I've been saying is obviously it's not the Pantera that we want, but,
no.
As a fan.
But you knew it was the Pantera you was going to get if it ever happened. You knew it was going to be Zakk Wylde. Dude.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Yeah.
It's his best friend, dude. And it's the dude that's smoking on guitar just as bad as fucking Don, dude. So, I mean, who else would it be?
Right.
He's probably the closest that could get to, you said the tone is in the hands of the player.
Yeah, I think it's probably, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that's true with Dime, too. We've talked about it before, but you hear people cover Walk, and you can tell they're covering Walk, but just that bend of the string is just that
oh,
Dime.
Yeah.
But,
Scott Ian said it perfect. He's like, man, that dude wrote that shit in, 3 notes, 3 chords or whatever. It was whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he took that and made a whole song out of it, dude. How, simple, how good you got to be to do something so simple like that and make it work.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Dime and Vinny. We're joined here with Tommy Buckley from Crowbar and Soylent Green. We're going to go check them out on tour. You guys are also heading overseas with Sepultura.
Yeah, man. We're friends with Sepultura, actually. We did a tour with those guys back in Sever the Wicked Hand tour, man. It was like 2011 in Europe. It was Propane, Crowbar, and Sepultura.
Oh, yummy.
And, man, they actually let me get on stage. I was drinking one night with Derek and Andreas, man. They got me so smashed, dude. I was sick as a dog the next day. We were drinking some South American shit called grappa.
I've heard of that.
Dude, this shit put a whooping on me. We finished off one bottle and cracked into another bottle, and we drank until the sun came up. And we were parked in a campground, dude. It was an outside show in, like, Poland or some shit. Well, dude, they all go to the show, and they forgot me in the bunk. They left me sleeping in the bunk. I was woken up by, like, Pat Brutus, dude. He's like, hey, man, you got to wake up, dude. He's like, we forgot you.
Oh,
he's like, and I'm like, oh, dude, I woke up to a pounding headache. But long story short, from that question, you was asking me about Sepultura in Europe. I just told those guys, and I said, man, y'all are like literally one of my favorite thrash metal bands in the 90s.
Yes.
And they were like, well, why don't you just get up and play a song with us then?
Oh, shit.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? And Andreas was like, no, man, what you want to play? Pick a song. I said, so, dude, I just blurted out the track title, Slave New World. I didn't even know what I said. Yeah. I was like, Slave New World. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, oh, I have to go back and listen to that one and remember what it was. And I was like, and it was a kick-ass song, pretty simple, but they got some technical rules and stuff in it. And, dude, it's on YouTube. Actually, if you look on the Tommy Buckley Crowbar Soylent Green page, I believe my girl found it on YouTube and put it on there. So
cool.
You can find it on there, man. It's me playing Slave New World with Sepultura.
I know they tour with a different drummer now, but Igor, another guy.
Oh, well, Igor was one of my biggest influences, no doubt, dude.
Yeah.
But dude, I tell you what, Eloy, man, jeez, dude. That guy they got now,
yeah,
he's every bit of just as good as Igor, if not better, man. He's like, he made a believer out of me because I was like, I went into the tour kind of like, okay, like whatever. And then, after watching him it took me about a week really to start convincing me that he was like as good as Igor. And I was like, dude, I started really coming in watching half the show. And I was like, man, they got this one song called The Pentagram. Jeez, dude, it's an instrumental. It'll make your freaking head spin like a top. It's unbelievable the stuff that he does in the song, man. I watch him do it live every night. You just got to go check it out, man. Listen to Sepultura, The Pentagram. Really good.
Absolutely. We were joined here with Tommy from Crowbar and Soylent Green. You're going to go and get the newish albums, Zero and Below, everywhere music is. Tommy, you want to give your social media or where they can find the rest of your stuff?
Well, like I said, there's a Tommy Buckley, .com thing out there that you can just check out, man. It's my personal little thing that we have, as well as the Crowbar sites. I'd imagine Soylent still got something, man. I don't even know, honestly. We're all so kind of out of touch in the Soylent camp. We haven't been in the same room together since 2014. So, it's about, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen soon. But yeah, man, just check out all the band personal websites and the Tommy Buckley Crowbar / Soylent Green page.
Tommy, we appreciate you joining us today, and stay safe out there on the road, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank y'all, Chad. Mike, I truly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tommy. I think we could talk to you for hours, bro. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I could talk to y'all forever, man. I love it. Drum talk and all that stuff. Like Brian said, drummers we're a secret society, bro. Hilarious. But anyway, man, y'all have a great day.
All right, brother.
Fantastic.
Take care.
Thanks so much,
Take
man.
care.
Would you throw a rope to a drowning man? In a darkened day, you can understand. I gasp for air, I choke on blood. A hopeless man drowning in a flood. Gathering what you can, learning to live again.